and politics, remote work better supports a green transformational agenda. Librarians have embraced the new technologies to facilitate our teams and teaching. We have all learnt online etiquette and developed emotional intelligence for the new online world in a pandemic. The obvious manifestation of this is the email messages ending with "stay safe." The private and personal has been taken away as our homes become our office, shared spaces with others. We are all acutely aware that we were the lucky ones. The pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on women, low earners, and people from different cultural backgrounds. In terms of our work-life balance, there have been many conflicts. Trying to care for our loved ones, homeschooling, and inadequate workspace has placed a huge strain on our personal lives. However, we've also eliminated commuting to work by at least 2 hours a day, and we have more time to spend on activities that improve our well-being. Though we are choosing to focus on the unexpected successes today, we know this time has been very challenging too.
So the first thing we'd like you to do is to share with us one positive thing that has come from a year of working at home or changes in your workplace. So this can be big or it can be small. As you've seen from the previous photos, Kirsty and I have had a great number of laughs working with our pets at home. So if you could just put in your anonymous thoughts on our message board, which is on slido.com. So if you can navigate to that in another window. And then when you're prompted, if you enter the hashtag making waves, it's all one word and you don't need to pop the hashtag in. It's already there for you. So it's just making waves is the code that you need, and it will be anonymous. And I'm going to change my window so that I'm going to share the board with you all. So the instructions you need are there on the left-hand side. Good tea. I have appreciated having tea makers at the home workplace that make a brew just like I like it.
The perfect cup of tea.
That's it. That's all that's been good about this year. Wow. Yeah. So
yeah, that's actually been really nice. I had quite an interesting insight into my children's online lessons. Some ways it was really negative, and in other ways it was quite an eye-opener. And I have a lot of respect for the teachers.
I love that people are doing things in their breaks that they might not have done. So someone's been doing cryptic crosswords, finding that time to spend time with your families, to support your kids. Yeah.
More sleep, definitely have more sleep.
Kirsty and I have appreciated not having a commute.
Oh, I've just started yoga in the mornings.
Wow, 3 hours a day commute.
Oh gosh.
I did an hour in a very hot car yesterday evening and realised why I hated the commute. Yeah. Fab. So yeah, similar themes coming up, and as we said, it's not that everything's been easy, but there have been some nuggets of positive in there. Should we move on, Kirsty?
Yes, please. Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
Laura.
So I'll just share the slides again and then we'll get going. Here we are.
So during the past year, we've had a number of unexpected successes. The business school set up random coffee mornings for their staff, and every month we receive an invitation to share a coffee and have a chat. During the lockdown, these have been easier to organise and the staff more willing to share. They're more personal. We feel that we've genuinely got to know the staff and had deeper, more sincere conversations. All of our teaching has been delivered online, and this has been a phenomenal success in terms of the numbers of students participating. 143 students logged into a library session on referencing, and I don't think I've ever spoken to that many PGTs in a lecture theatre at once. When reflecting on this, we think that the online delivery allows students to drop in and choose whether they stay. They can be anonymous, and it's also easier for them to attend without having to commute and physically be on campus. Laura and I have learnt new skills in how to deliver our teaching online. So after the first few sessions, we quickly realised that students are very uncomfortable to have their cameras on and speak in front of students they haven't met. However, we learnt how to use the chat function, where students felt much more comfortable to express their opinions and thoughts. Team teaching allows one to monitor the chat and one-to-one talk. We learned how to create a learning environment in an online world. We also found that one-to-ones via Teams also works particularly well for some students, in particular part-time, commuter, international, students with disabilities, and students in isolation. We feel for support services, online support works particularly well. Laura and I have supported each other in how to learn the new programmes and create new self-help resources. Lecturers have been particularly keen to use these in lectures and on our VLE, and we've uploaded these onto our library subject guides and used them to answer inquiries. These resources we hope to build on into the future as students are now more accustomed to using self-help. On reflection, Laura and I feel that this year has strengthened our working relationship. We've supported each other through the crazy, difficult year with compassion and humour. We've found that we're more open with one another and less afraid to ask for help. I wonder if you found this too. If you have, give us a thumbs up on the Teams.
But of course, not everything has flourished in our new online world, and some of the things we've tried this year just haven't worked as well as we'd hoped. One initiative we tried early on was an online reading community forum on the school's VLE. The aim was to help students and staff make connections with one another by sharing items they've been reading. It included an attempt to create a collaborative story over the Christmas holidays, with anyone able to contribute to the next line of the plot. However, despite efforts to promote this and get the conversation going, which were by school staff and also a small group of interested students I got working with me, this just didn't take off in the way we'd hoped. Ebook availability for business texts has also caused issues for us this year. Some popular titles are only available to libraries at an unsustainable cost in expensive subscription packages or as e-textbooks. And though this is affecting many subject areas, we feel business publishing is particularly affected. Whilst this was an issue in normal times, we felt the full consequences during lockdown. And we've been really grateful to the eBook SOS campaign, who've worked to raise wider awareness of the issue. And they've also created resources which have helped us to communicate the problem to students and staff. Our live online teaching hasn't always worked out. Early on in the pandemic, we tried flipped classroom approaches, asking students to interact with resources in advance and then bring questions to live sessions for us to answer. This format didn't really work for us, even with our researchers. So we've moved away from this model. But on a positive note, disruptive in-class behaviour has not been able to flourish in our online world. With the muted microphones of students, you don't get the low-level chatter and disruption to the online lessons in the way we've experienced previously in the classroom. It gives more space for those who are motivated to learn to ask questions. But of course, the flip side of this is that with these students potentially not even really present during the session, how do we reach them? It's so easy for students to disengage from online learning, and it's an issue being discussed at school level, not just something affecting our library sessions.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Now we're going to move on to Slido, and this time, so if you go back to slido.com, making waves where you were before, please can you think about your unexpected successes at work over the past year and perhaps add maybe what's not flourished for you.
Just switch over the slides again. Here we go. So it's the same hashtag as before, and it should have moved on.
Yeah, the short video content we found has been very popular. Yeah, someone else has found that the engagement during induction week has increased.
That's amazing, 56%.
The networking issue is an interesting one as well. It seems to be, Laura and I's experience has been really positive, but from our colleagues and talking with our team, it most definitely hasn't flourished. So it's interesting. Maybe it depends on subject area a little bit as well.
It's very easy to not keep in touch with people online, particularly if they're not very keen to have video calls, whereas if you've got colleagues who are more happy to chat and go to virtual coffees and things like that, you do spend more time talking to them.
Yeah.
So that's perhaps why people are getting such... I'm trying to show all the comments, but it's difficult to get them all to show. Being able to meet students more convenient times for them, yeah, that's definitely something we've found.
Definitely lunchtime online events and library sessions have worked so well. Yeah,
attendance at generic sessions. We found that we used to run generic sessions in person and we stopped them because we got such low attendance. But as soon as we started doing online generic sessions, we've had an overwhelming response this year.
Yeah.
Someone finding Mentimeter really good. Yeah, we've been using Mentimeter and now Slido, which is another one. Oh, someone's missed seeing people's faces.
Oh,
yeah. And that's something we've had to come to terms with, that idea that you're just presenting to a blank space, which is completely alien to us. Yeah. So people feeling working from home is isolating as well. And as we've touched on, we're mostly focusing on trying to feel positive at the moment, but we are not wanting to say that this hasn't been incredibly difficult, and everybody's had different experiences, and that's why we wanted to make a bit of a space for people to share whatever they've experienced.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Shall we, moving over to Laura's case study.
Yep, so it'll just take me again a little moment to change my screens. High tech here. So our work on an aspiring new module demonstrates many of our unexpected successes and new opportunities that we found this year. So a bit of background: before the pandemic, we were invited to be part of the Aspire module team. Now, Aspire is a multi-year credit-bearing, and I'll try and say this carefully, Chartered Management Institute accredited module. And it aims to embed academic skills, information literacy, professional skills and career management into the curriculum for undergraduates. It's taught by academics and by professional services staff, and it was a big innovation for the business school and a really great opportunity for myself and Kirsty in terms of embedding the information literacy throughout the curriculum. But when the pandemic suddenly hit, there was a huge concern about how moving this online and starting it online was going to affect its success. Now, remote working and the creation of a module team on the Microsoft Teams platform, linking all of these different staff from across the university, has actually had a really unexpected effect on how we work together in this module. Teams has facilitated discussion and made it accessible to everyone in the teaching team. And with us subject librarians not being based over in the school ourselves, the liaison benefits have been really evident to us. We've had greater insight into the planning of the module, and we didn't miss out on the latest discussions, which before the pandemic may have happened in small meetings in the school. So, for example, when it was suggested on Teams that students were allocated mentors for their first assignment, we librarians offered to contribute, and the module leader was really delighted we were happy to share the work. Without Teams, we probably would never have heard about this opportunity. Similarly, we didn't have an information literacy session planned for year 2 because the schedule was so tight. But through Teams discussion, we spotted an opportunity where we could offer our expertise and business information resources to support the year 2 assignments in a meaningful way. And we secured another precious teaching hour with the students to build on their first year learning. Despite our concerns with how classroom teaching sessions for this module would go online, there were some unexpected benefits here too. So our students seemed quite happy to use the Teams chat box to ask questions and contribute answers to activities. We built in time during the session for students to explore library resources on the devices they had and share what they'd achieved, which offered a comparable experience to that they would have had in a large lecture theatre on campus. In fact, in this case, all the students in attendance had an internet connected device right in front of them, which is not always the case when they attend the lecture halls. Due to the success of these sessions, we've actually made the decision to keep them online as we expand to a larger cohort this year. We're also going to look in our face-to-face classes to offer a chat style option in future to facilitate participation for those who don't want to speak out. We received great feedback from students, the module team and management about our contribution to this module. We've developed really close connections with the rest of the team, and this has led to collaborations on other projects across the school. Kirsty got the opportunity to present with the module team at a best practice seminar to senior leadership and staff in the business school, and this raised further awareness of the importance of the library and librarians.
You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. More changes are always going to come our way, and hopefully not as dramatic as the past year. We've proved to ourselves how adaptable we can be in a crisis to keep the ship afloat. Where will academic libraries and liaison be in the future? E-books and their importance have probably influenced a change in every single academic library's collection management policy. We imagine one-to-ones online will now always be an option. Will library spaces be redesigned for online teaching and learning? Will office hours become a combination of remote and on-campus working? Will library teaching continue to be delivered online, or will we revert back to lecture theatres and computer labs? Will artificial intelligence help us to deliver library services? What will our students prefer? We need to keep hold of the success while trying to create a better future for our students. Bringing back the best of face-to-face on-campus learning does not mean losing the best of the new services we've now provided and working culture we've embraced over the past year. So,
now, for the final time, we'd like to invite you to share and reflect on your thoughts. So, how would you like to see library academic liaison and teaching and learning develop into the future? Again, it's the same code and the same website, slido.com, making waves. What would you like to see in the future of libraries? So let's talk about working from home and hybrid approaches. Yeah. So lots of people talk about hybrid, keeping the best of both, and obviously that's a really hard line to juggle.
Right-sized support at time of need. Yeah, I think if anyone's had any success in that area, I think it's something that we'll all be working. We've already planned our timetable for the next term, even though the majority of our teaching at our university is going to try, hopefully, to be face-to-face. In terms of the library support, we've just created a whole new online timetable at lunchtimes because it works so well. Yeah, I think that's really important as well as thinking about the space within libraries themselves. Library space needs to change to enable students and staff to have the flexibility to deliver and participate online within the library, which is a slightly different thing that we've ever sort of considered, I think, pre-pandemic in the same way. Yeah, building on those videos, it's something that me and Laura have really worked quite hard on, and something that we'd like to do more of in the future. I think, yep. So thank you. That's great. Thanks for all your contributions. Have you any questions?
Thanks, Kirsty and Laura, for that. That was a fantastic presentation, and I really enjoyed all the interactivity. There's a question from Maureen. If you want to unmute yourself.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I was just wondering, you're in the business school. Did this sort of thing go on equally successfully in the other academic departments, or are you the kind of front runners?
It's a really great question, Maureen, and something that I think we might have maybe aggressively pruned from our presentation a little bit, that comment. Yeah, we found that particularly for the business school, this approach has worked really well. A lot of international students who never even made it to England, I don't think, this year, or they did, but they were trapped in bedrooms. It's a kind of the type of subject where students are more willing to use self-help, to use things like videos, LinkedIn Learning. They're just more geared up to that kind of thing. They've got business heads on, I guess.
And the subject area lends itself to online learning, which clearly other subject areas, if you're in the arts, you're going to struggle in a different way because you need the art books in front of you. So I think what we've managed to achieve is me and Laura working in a way that managed to support the business school, and we're very conscious that it's been a success because of the effort we've put in, but also because of the nature of the subject area that we support, definitely.
Because our subject wasn't.
That's good and well done. In the other subject areas, did people try it and it didn't really work, or did they kind of not try it because they anticipated it not working?
Well, interestingly, the generic sessions, Maureen, at lunchtime have also been a phenomenal success, and they clearly are reaching out to the whole population of the university. So we've had a huge uptake from the postgraduate students and the researchers to the generic sessions again on things like just basic searching of Summon, which is our resource discovery network, and referencing. So very generic sessions that all university follow, but again, really good success in terms of attendance and participation, and that's across the board from all subjects. I don't think, Laura, there were a particular, again, the business school had a high uptake, didn't they?
I was going to say, surprisingly or not surprisingly, so Huddersfield is kind of, we've got a large commuter student population, obviously, and we have a lot of students studying in health. That's one of our biggest subject areas, and we had those students who traditionally do like face-to-face support. They were in university. They were some of the first ones back, obviously, doing the nursing courses, whereas our business school students never came back. But we were getting feedback from them that they just loved that they could be on placement, they could call us, they could attend these sessions wherever they were. A lot of them had children, a lot of them had family commitments. And even though they had to go to campus for their seminars and their practicals, which nobody wants students to be without, you want students to be able to have that face-to-face. They really appreciated that the support services were something that they could get in their own space. So that was quite interesting, really. I think we had a lot of education as well, where you've got a lot of people working and studying at the same time.
Yeah, sounds great.
Is that similar to what you've experienced, Maureen? I know you
Well, it's quite interesting for the rest of you. I'm at Bradford. Basically, our workshops did really well throughout, but they were especially strong for researchers. So, as you say, research staff and PhD students, they came in droves. We had, 50 odd at a critical appraisal workshop and things like that. For the ordinary workshops, which are open to all the undergraduates, the bog standard stuff like your Harvard referencing, the numbers were about normal. I mean, they were okay, but they weren't very, very high. It was in the research area where we noticed a massive increase. And I don't know if it's just that the researchers had more time on their hands because they didn't come to campus. As you say, some of the undergrads, they were in, resuscitating dummies and that sort of thing, because we got a lot of practical courses. So maybe they didn't have the extra time on their hands that the researchers had. We don't really know why. But yeah, there was a definite difference between our two types of workshop.
That's interesting, yeah. I would say that our research ones possibly haven't been as well received as we expected.
Right. Yeah, that's
It was
interesting.
almost the other way around for us.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder why.
and
I mean,
because
it could be the advertising, because we don't have
Yeah.
such great mechanisms for advertising to the whole student body.
Mm.
And we can get straight at the researchers by email. So that's maybe the difference.
the other thing was we allowed the kind of generic sort of workshop type ones. They were just open to the whole university. So we didn't say that researchers couldn't join in, and then we're just quite surprised at the amount of they were kind of aimed at undergraduates, but we certainly got more postgraduates than we were expecting, which was great. It was really good. We did find when we were delivering them, there was such a success that we had to be really careful that we had enough staff behind those sessions to facilitate them. So we had to definitely make sure there were 2 people, and it was a little bit like sitting on Mastermind for referencing, I felt like almost. It was literally questions just being fired at us.
We would completely agree with that at the beginning, that we found that you really, really had to have a Zoom helper. And I know, because Laura there's helped being my Zoom helper in CILIP events from the local committee. So yeah, I can't function without a Zoom helper.
No, we couldn't. It was almost exhausting. Anyway, we managed it, and it was quite fun. I think a lot of us got quite a lot from it as well. It was quite nice. And then, you know, like we were saying in the talk, we just learned the online etiquette. We learned what was needed and necessary. And so when we first delivered them, we didn't ask, did we? We asked them for questions in advance. But the second time round, when we did the big generic sessions, Laura, yeah, we did as well, didn't we? But
we were just inundated with questions. There was 3 people on every session, and it was just crazy.
Two on that. We ended up with 2 on the chat, didn't we? And 1 doing the presentation. So yeah, it was quite good fun.
Sounds very successful.
Yeah. We have another question now from Victoria.
Hi. Yes, hi. You mentioned that the flipped classroom approach didn't work. Do you have any sort of insights into why that was? Was it down to the pandemic, or were there more underlying reasons?
So I think it's something that we found it difficult in the sense that the students would just turn up to the session and be like, right. So originally our generic ones, for example, were billed as drop-ins. So you come and bring a question. And the students would arrive, and they arrived with no questions, just expecting a session. So that was very quickly adapted to become a presentation, a 5-minute presentation, followed by questions, and able to submit questions in advance so that we could add things and have some audience participation. But again, it felt like you would do flipped classroom. So I would perhaps send out some resources. This is how, you know, prepare your search strategy for your dissertation. Have a think about this, then bring your questions to me. And I just got, have you looked at it? And they all said, no. And they'd got it, but maybe sometimes the tutor hadn't circulated it enough in advance. I think a lot of the students, they mentally allocate that amount of time, but that's when I'm going to learn about that, and they come to the session. I mean, this is a hunch, so no, we haven't done any, like, we didn't get any feedback on that, but it felt like when you arrived there, the students were, oh no, I was too busy to look at it. So I don't know whether you've had any more success with that, Victoria.
I've only got sort of in other module leaders, and they say probably the same thing. You know, they've got to put it in front of the students all the time and remind them to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't actually get done. So yeah, very similar.
What was interesting about that in particular was that we kept going with that with the postgraduate researchers. And again, we'd send them the PowerPoint in advance and say, look through this, think if you've got any questions, because otherwise you're just reading a PowerPoint with the researchers. And they'd still come and expect you to present. So we ended up presenting again. So we dropped that element of saying read it through before, because we just thought, well, the people that have get the same thing again. The people that haven't turn up to a session where they have no clue what's going on. So
but it did work. Yeah, it did work when we asked them questions in advance, didn't it, Laura?
Yeah.
So we got at least 4 people out of all the researchers. We didn't get huge numbers for that one anyway, did we? It was a different thing. It was more a kind of workshop that we were definitely just delivering for researchers on a different timetable. And they did ask us a few questions in advance, which was useful, but it's not as I would describe flipped classroom. It's just ask
the
us,
questions always tended to be not directed at what the session was. So you do a session on principles of referencing, and all your questions would be about EndNote, really complicated ones. So your triage would kind of be, well, I'll answer this, but not in this session.
Have we got any other questions from anyone? I've got one question actually. I was just wondering, out of all of the new developments, these new opportunities, which is the one that you're most proud of?
For me, it's definitely Aspire, because the Aspire module, as I say, it was built as this interactive, really active, classroom-based, innovative thing where we're going to have students running around the classroom, games, all this kind of thing. And then pandemic happened. It was like, how do we make this work online? And the fact that the team, they're just the most lovely team. You know, we even had like a Christmas party for Aspire, where we had silly things like a game. You know, how many things have you heard on Teams this year? So it's things like, you're on mute, or can't see your slides. And it was just that whole team pulled together, and the students definitely got things out of it. You know, the module feedback was really good. We were able to adapt to the student feedback. We, as librarians, had this unique opportunity to be peer observed by the academics, and they like shaped our lesson plans. They said, oh, you know, we feel this might work better, this bit worked really well, and that was just amazing. And I got to work with Kirsty on it, which, as we've said in our presentation, this year we've just, you know, we've laughed, we've cried, and we've sort of been through the whole range of emotions together. And we're not a job share, but it feels like we are a lot of the time.
Yeah, everything Laura said.
It does sound great. Thanks to both of you for your presentation. This session's finished a little bit shorter because we've only got one presentation in it. So there's opportunity now for you when this session ends to pop and have a look at our sponsor channels, go and see there, have a go at our treasure hunt. We've got prizes if you can hunt out the cartoon characters that are in there. And then coming up at 4:15 is presentation from our gold sponsor, which is Adam Matthew, followed by at 4:30 our ALN quiz, which is of course not to be missed. No prizes, just pride. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and those of you that are coming for day 2 as well, enjoy that. If you're only here for day 1, if you could pop into the feedback channel and leave your feedback, that would be great. Otherwise, I hope to see everybody tomorrow for day 2. Thanks again to Kirsty and Laura.
We'd just like to say thank you for everybody attending. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Maureen.
Bye.
Hmm.